Okay, so this is gonna be the first example of area deconstruction. So first, what I did was make a model, and the way that I counted it is based off, so you can go down to make the squares, and then sideways, and then I wrote a 0.5 right here since it's half of the square, and as well as over here it would be another 0.5, and then over here I did do a 1 since it's not going to the first line right here, well, the first stop, it'd be to the second, so it'd be the same thing for this one, it'd be a 1 and a 1. And then for over here, the same thing as well, since it's half the square, I did a 0.5. And then over here as well, a 0.5. And then for area, we are solving what's inside of the square and not outside. So in total, we're solving for the area. So first what we're gonna do is count the squares. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we're gonna write that down, 16. And then now we're gonna count these points. So this would be 1. So we're gonna subtract 1. And then 0.5, 0.5, it makes 1. So we're gonna write another 1. And then for this side, it'd be 1 and 2. So we're gonna subtract 2. We're gonna be subtracting 4 away from 16, which is 12, making our area 12 units square. And that is all.
Okay, so this is the second problem for area deconstruction, and how I personally like to do it, I start, well, obviously with the corners, and I start connecting them. This is 1, 2, so I already know that it connects 2 times on this side. So now we're gonna figure out the top, which is 1 and 2. It also connects 2 times up here. This may be confusing for some people, but I feel like I don't know, it helps me. So I know it's 2, I'm gonna have to multiply 2 times 2, so I put it up here, 4, and then 4 divided by 2 equals 2. So I will put 2 in here, which is what that will equal, that right triangle. Now we're gonna move down to this left hand side. It connects 1, 2, 2 times as well. Down here, once only. So this is my first one. So then it's 2 times 1 equals 2, and then 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So the value for that will be 1. Now I'll move to the middle, which will be, I'll split it into 2 different right triangles, and then connect it once and once. So right here we know it's 1 and 1, 1 and 1. So I'll move over here and it'll be 1 times 1 equals 1, and then 1 divided by 2 equals 0.5. So these are the ones we have to keep in mind, because at the end we're gonna subtract from the whole area, so we could just specifically find the shapes. So now we know that this is a 1 by 1 on each side, so they're both gonna value 0.5. So now moving on to this side, it is also 1 by 1, which as we know is gonna be 0.5. And up here, I do that same thing, split it, 1 and 1. So 0.5, 0.5. Up here, it's also 1 by 1. So we know it's gonna be 0.5. So then I will go back and, let me go in. And this will make 1. So 1, and then this makes 1, and I'll connect these 2 corners to make 1. So we have 3 over here, 1 and 2, so that will be 6. So, well, I feel like I'm a very visual person, so I will separate them, draw a line out, and then down the middle. So as we can see, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. So A is 16 minus 2 minus 1, right? Yes, so it will be 16 minus 2 and minus 4 ones. Or you could simply put it together, which will equal 16 minus 6. Let me do this. 16 minus 6, which will give you 10 units square.
Alright, so my name is London. I'm gonna be doing the misconceptions for area deconstruction. So one of the first misconceptions would be misunderstanding area concepts, which basically means confusing area with perimeter or volume. How to avoid this mistake: clearly define what area and perimeter is so you can differentiate the two so you don't mix them up, because I know I personally would mix them up. I know I did all the time when I was a kid. I still sometimes do it. And using visual aids like Geoboard, like Professor Howe introduced us to, really help me to like visualize and be able to kind of do what Priscilla did on the board, for example 1, just dividing up the figure into squares, which definitely helped me. And how to avoid it, that's what I just said. Also engage activities that show the differences of the perimeter area. And then the second one would be using the wrong or incorrect formulas. So it would be inaccurate applying formulas to different shapes. So let's say you have this. So let's say you have a parallelogram. Parallelogram for finding the area is base time height. That's the correct one. But let's say if a student or a friend of yours in your class just decides to use, hey, I'm gonna use triangle because I'm feeling frisky today. So they just decide to do that, but that you can't really do it. That's not how math works. And to avoid this, I would say get a formula reference. Just get flashcards, watch some videos, or just listen to your professor when they're talking about the formulas and how to differentiate between the two. And then the last one would be neglecting units of measurement, which is very important because you want to know what you're labeling. You want to make sure you have units squared, like Brazota put here, and on that second example where you have units squared, which is very crucial. And I would say when writing and figuring out with a classmate, just does not put it, just make sure to stress and mention the just the need for it, because if you don't put this units, you're gonna just, what is it? What are you counting? So, all right.
Hi. So I'm going to be going over the tips, and our first tip is to write down your work on the side. This is optional, but sometimes it does help you when solving these problems. So if you go back to the work, you can see that we have 2 times 2 because we see that we connected it 2 times on this side and as well as on this side. We multiply that and get 4, and then we divide it down here because it has 2 sides. A second tip in order to find the area of the entire model is to create horizontal and vertical lines to create little squares. This is really helpful so that you can go back and just count all the squares to see how many there are, or you can count the sides and multiply the 2 numbers to get your entire area. The last and final tip that we have is to combine your 0.5s like we did here. And so you can see that we have 1, and this just makes it easier so that later on when you're subtracting, you don't have to subtract with decimals.